everybody. We are back with Elegies Aya, and the music is far too loud for me. I can't understand my own words. Hello, everyone. We are back with the sixth episode, I think. And yeah, we are we are at an art fair right now. We saw some things. Maybe we will see cool things again. Before I finish talking, I'm already doing my best to weave in several groups of loitering strangers. Right, we are searching Aya right now, and make my way to the sidewalk. It's just as busy over there with people lining up out the doors of cafes and restaurants. Just like when I ran into that detective earlier.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I shoulder past a few hungry customers and find myself right next to a pizza place, with some fancy Italian name scrawled across the window in stylized cursive. Aya is just floating there, facing inside.
Aya, there you are.
She doesn't reply at first. She's looking, thinking quickly to avoid getting some weird looks from the people in line nearby. I pull my phone out of my pocket and pretend to be talking to someone.
Hey, everything okay? Aya,
I don't know.
do you want a slice of pizza? I guess you can't actually eat it, but maybe you could pretend.
No,
She did she got burned in Lynn? Aya still isn't looking. I turn toward the window of the pizza place and follow her gaze, trying to figure out what's distracting so much. Inside, a man in a white baker's uniform is loading a thin crust pizza into a burning oven. I feel a sudden tightening chest as he opens the heavy door to reveal pink flames. And it occurs to me that something same anxiety happens to be in the uncharacteristically rigid posture of my friend besides me.
was just wandering around and then I saw the flames.
She turns to look at me, eyes wide and
For just a second there, I think I remembered something. Zach?
my heart pounds in the tense silence as I wait for her to finish her explanation.
I think I was in a fire once too.
What about this one?
Late that night, Aya and I are huddled in front of the glow of my laptop screen, looking through more old newspaper articles. I explained to her about my search once we got home from the craft fair, and her sudden flashback at the sight of those flames made her eager to help. It's been going a lot faster now that I know we are looking for news about the fire specifically. Now that having Aya next to me, I can't get distracted just reading random stuff. Aya peers closely at the text in front of us.
No, I don't think so. Oh, I don't know. The pictures just don't look familiar.
Okay, how about.
I navigate to the next result in the search, bringing up a picture of the ruins of what was once a suburban house. The headline reads, Neighbors shocked as Vaughan Street home succumbs to sudden blaze. Next to me, I hear a soft gasp from my ghostly friend.
What? Is this it?
Maybe. Give me a minute.
I nod and let my eyes wander the screen as I give Aya time to recover her thoughts. The article begins. Fire that horrified this peaceful neighborhood also claimed the lives of the homeowners, Yusuf and Olivia Farash. Firefighters who arrived at the scene sadly report that they were too late to save them, as the flames had rapidly consumed the house's upper story, including the master bed. One survivor was rushed to Markham Hospital in critical condition. Mr. and Mrs. Farrah's 14-year-old daughter, Aya. Aya. I turn to look at her and find her face bearing a stunned expression that lets me know she was reading along with.
It's me.
Her voice is so weak that I can barely hear it.
Are you sure?
I wish I could say something to comfort her, but I don't know what. I can imagine exactly how she feels. It's almost uncanny how similar the situation described in the article is to mine. Just reading it brought up painful memories of seeing my own parents' bodies and desperately searching my burning home for some way to escape. That's after all the time I've already had to process it. I've relived that night dozens of times, and while it's never easy, I've grown accustomed to it in some ways. I know what to expect and how to deal with it and calm myself down. Maya doesn't have that luxury. Full force of that horrible memory must be assaulting her now for the first time in years. I don't even know what to say. I'm relieved when she finally answers my pitiful question.
Yes, I'm sure.
There's a quiet confidence to her whispered words as she continues her recollection of the past.
That house, it was mine. I remember that mailbox right there. In her neighbor's driveway. I used to draw with chalk there when I was a little kid. I remember the bright colors. My name is Aya Elizabeth Farage. Elizabeth was the name of my mother's favorite aunt. And Aya means miracle. That's what my parents called me because they tried for so long to have a baby before my mother finally got pregnant with me. I was their miracle. Mom and Dad, Olivia and Yusuf. They died in the fire and
She sighs and shakes her head. Looking for some way to help, I quickly scan the rest of the article.
Wow, this was almost 5 years ago. Were you drifting around the hospital for that long?
I must have been. I don't know. It all started to blur together after a while.
Poor Aya.
It doesn't say anything else about you. Just some quotes from your neighbors and the firefighters about how shocking it all was. Let me search for your name, though. Maybe there's something else.
Like an obituary,
Okay.
but typing Aya Farash into the newspaper search bar doesn't bring up any articles. Just this one about the fire. Same with her parents' names. There's nothing else.
There isn't any other news about what happened to you.
Aya shrugs bitterly.
Oh, that must have been it, right? I must have died in the hospital.
Wouldn't they at least put something in the obituary section for you then?
My parents were already dead. Maybe there was no one else who would have bothered to write one.
I guess so.
I bring up the article about the fire again, desperate for something. Any small detail might bring my friend a bit more closure.
This says the house was on Vaughn Street, right? Do you remember the exact address?
Aya closes her eyes, her mouth twisting into a pensive frown.
Vaughn Street. Vaughn Street. 33. I think it was 33 Vaughn Street.
Then let's go there tomorrow.
I quickly look up directions to the address.
See? It's not that far. I bet we could even take the bus. I guess they probably rebuilt a new house there. But maybe you'll be able to remember more if you look around your old neighborhood. Maybe you'll even recognize someone you know.
Aya gives me a slight smile.
Yeah, maybe.
I smile back, happy to have come up with a plan that might be somehow.
Well, it's getting late. I guess I'd better go to sleep.
Okay.
I shut the laptop and lean over to place it on the bedside table. Aya hovers away from the bed, giving me to stretch out and get comfortable without the awkwardness of our bodies overlapping.
What are you going to do?
Feel a bit bad for Arya sometimes when I think about how she doesn't sleep. The long dark nights on her own must get lonely.
I think
She pauses for a few moments as if to contemplate her options.
I'll just go out exploring. A few nights ago, I saw a really cute cat walking around outside. And sometimes there are raccoons. They're so funny and chubby.
Okay, then I'll see you in the morning. We can go out to see your old place after breakfast.
Sounds good. Good night, Zach.
Aya slowly floats away toward my bedroom.
Oh, and thank you.
Aww. I feel sad for her. I can't help letting out a huge yawn as I carefully descend the stairs for breakfast the next morning. Yesterday was already tiring enough by itself, not to mention how late Aya and I stayed up before we found that newspaper article. Aya, too, looks a bit more subdued than normal as she hovers by the TV, which is quietly playing the morning news.
Morning, kid.
Aunt Claire greets me from the couch, a slice of toast halfway to her mouth.
You look like you could use some coffee.
That would be great. Thanks, Aunt Claire.
No problem. Coming right up.
She disappears into the kitchen and I sink into a comfortable seat on the couch. Aya smiles and floats over towards me. I reach for the remote and turn up the TV so she can still hear it.
Anything interesting on the news this morning?
I whisper so that Aunt Claire can't hear me from the kitchen.
Yeah! There was this really cute story about these people who lost their cat right before they moved. They were really sad, thinking they'd never see the cat again. But then they found her at her new house. Cats are so smart.
That's adorable.
So,
She fidgets nervously before finishing her sentence.
are we going to my old house today?
Yeah, sure. I just need to make up a story to tell Aunt Claire. Somehow, I don't feel like my ghost friend and I need to look for clues about how she died is going to cut it.
That might be the first time I've directly said those words to Aya. That she died. Even though we talked about it a little bit last night, it still feels like a strange thing to acknowledge. She died. She must have. She's right here. We are happily making plans for the day. She even laughs at my flippant approach to the subject.
Yeah. If you tell her that, she might just send you right back to the hospital.
Hey, that sounds like it wouldn't even be a problem. We could visit all our favorite hangout spots again.
But we couldn't look for clues or solve the mystery.
You've got a point. Cover story it is.
We turn our attention back to the TV where the fashionable dressed woman is describing the weather until Aunt Claire emerges from the kitchen again.
Breakfast is ready.
She places a steaming mug of coffee and a plate with two slices of toast down on the table and then sits down beside me. Aya moves to get out of her way.
Thanks.
I take a sip of the coffee and savor its warmth.
Were you talking to someone just now?
Oops. I guess at some point I forgot to keep whispering. But then again, that gives me a good opportunity to get started with this cover story idea.
Yeah. I just got a call from my friend Ivan.
I. He's so not good at lying. Smooth, Zach. I can hear Aya jiggling softly as I try not to acknowledge her.
Ivan?
Yeah, Ivan. We used to be on the soccer team together.
Flawless recovery.
He was asking if I want to hang out today.
Oh, that's great. Need me to give you a ride somewhere?
Nah, I can take the bus. I still have a valid student card, so it's free.
All right, if you're sure. Make sure you charge your phone before you leave. You can always call me if you need me to come pick you up later on. I don't want you to push yourself too much if your leg starts hurting or anything.
Okay.
So, what are you guys going to do?
Uh, you know,
Guy stuff.
play video games?
Oh, of course!
Aunt Claire throws her hands out in an uh, exaggerated expression of the obviousness of my answer.
What else is there? I'm just glad you're at least leaving the house for it this time.
I nod and take a huge bite of toast, hoping that my mouth will discourage my aunt from asking me any more questions about my buddy Ivan. Fortunately, she gets distracted by the news, and the rest of our breakfast passes without incident. Well, except for Aya making fun of me. She knows I can't defend myself.
Wow! I can't wait to meet this Ivan. You said he plays soccer? And video games too? Oh, he sounds like a cool guy.
I just can't get any respect around here. Oh, Dag, you're so funny. I like this. I like that this game has the serious tone, but kind of smooth it down with some funny scenes like this right now. I really appreciate the humor after having some hard pills to swallow. Following the directions on my phone, I take a short walk from Aunt Claire's house to the bus stop and board the bus that arrives soon after. It's a bit crowded, but a young woman with spiky hair notices my cane and stands up to give me her seat, which is nice. Aya hovers nearby, trying to fit herself into a spot where no one is standing. Not that she can't just go through people if she needs to, but I've noticed that she prefers not to. I'm not surprised. It must feel a little weird. I used to take a bus just like this one to school in the mornings. It's strange to be back after so much has changed.
Look at the cool patches on this guy's jacket.
I nod and smile at Aya's occasional observations, but avoid responding out loud. I could always use the old talking on my phone trick to have a conversation with her, but I don't want to be that guy talking loudly on the bus unless it's an emergency. Everyone hates that guy. The bus rolls on, and I keep an eye on the direction to make sure we don't miss our stop. I notice the business on this Main Street transitioning from fashionable shops and upscale cafes into small convenience stores and run-down fast food chains. Finally, we turn the corner into a more residential area, and the map on my phone lets me know we are getting close. I press the button to request the next stop, and I exit the bus in front of a cramped townhouse complex. As another bus rider around my age slips past us and into one of the townhouses, I take a moment to get my bearings and figure out which way we need to walk.
Well, any of this look familiar?
I don't know. Maybe a little bit?
I guess we're turning left over there, and then it's not much further. Let me know if you recognize anything.
Yeah.
Aya is silent as we make our way down the cracked sideway towards the place she used to live. She frowns pensively at the view, and I decide not to ask her any more questions for now. But I wonder whether this place is starting to bring back any memories or not. She said because of something from the past, or because she doesn't remember the past at all. Streets get progressively narrower, winding into various crescents and cul-de-sacs. For a moment, I get a little worried about losing our way. But then I see it. It's impossible to miss. The ruins of the burned house lie between two other dwellings that are so dilapidated they look to be at risk of crumbling into similar heaps. I'm not sure exactly what I expected, isn't this? Stop in front of it, both of our shocked gaze fixed on the wreckage.
They never rebuilt the house? It's been like 5 years.
Beside me, Aya shrugs.
From what I remember, I'm not surprised. It's not a good neighborhood. My dad had a lot of trouble finding a job when he first moved here, and we couldn't afford much. Probably no one thought it would be worth it to rebuild.
That's sad.
Yeah,
Sounds like you're starting to remember more, though. That's good, right?
I guess so. It's still vague. I can tell you general information like that. Like it just pops into my head. But if I try to think of anything specific, it's like trying to see through a thick fog.
I try to imagine how Aya must feel. It's hard enough for me to have lost my parents, but at least I have my memories of good times when they were alive. Poor Aya must have only the sense of loss without any of.
Well, let's see if there's anyone around here who might be able to fill in those specifics for us then. Maybe you'll remember more if you see someone you recognize from the past, or if you hear from someone who knew you or your parents.
Yeah, maybe.
Detective Zack is on the case.
I pose as if I'm tipping a cool head like a detective, and Aya jiggled.
Let's see what your next door neighbors have to say.
Moving as quickly as I can with my cane, I climb the steps onto the porch of a slightly run-down house and ring the bell. Through the screen door, I watch a large man in a stained T-shirt respond to its discordant summons. What do you want?
Hi. My name is.
I'm about to introduce myself when it occurs me that I should have put a lot more thought into this introduction. I'm going to need some kind of reason why I'm asking questions about Aya. Somehow, I don't think this guy will react to the ghost stuff any better than I would. I feel like going around giving out my real name to random strangers in a bad part of town might not be the smartest idea. First things first, I'm going to need an alias. Oh, come up with a normal song.
John Smith.
Really? Sorry, kid. Sorry. He's really going with John Smith? Did he watch Pocahontas last night? Uh-huh. I might have gone a little bit past normal sounding, and it's so generic it's fake sounding. Oh well.
And I'm looking for my cousin.
Gosh, no one will buy the story. Is your cousin?
Her name's Aya. Aya Faraj. I heard she lived next door at number 33, but
I guess to the ruins of her old house.
I guess not anymore.
Man has been staring at me with complete disinterest since he answered the door. But now his face seems to be hardening to something more like contempt. He's just annoyed that I'm wasting this time. Still, I try not to let it get to me.
Do you have any idea where her family might have moved to? I really want to get back in touch with her if I can.
Nope, never knew them.
Really? Never? You didn't just have a little chat with your neighbors once in a while? If you knew anything about them, even the tiniest detail, maybe it would help.
Nope, can't help you. Screen door slams shut in my face and the man disappears down the hall.
Well, that's, uh, 1 point for the neighbors and 0 points for Detective Zack.
You mean Detective John?
Aya chuckles at my choice of pseudonym as we make our way back to the sidewalk.
You know, I don't remember having a cousin by that name. But then again, I don't remember much, so Maybe you're telling the truth?
Oh, you're so good. You're so wholesome. You're too good for this world.
Haha, very funny. It was the most plausible cover story I could come up with. I'm thinking you and I are long lost cousins. We haven't seen each other for years because of some family drama, and I'm trying to get back in touch.
We should start writing stories.
But I only have your old address, and I have no idea what happened to you and your parents. That's why I have to ask around and see if anyone can fill me in. Maybe it'll lead us to something that will help you remember more.
Okay. I guess it's not that bad an idea. Should we try the neighbors on the other side?
Let's go!
I step onto a dirt-smudged welcome mat and ring another door. An elderly woman answers, taking her time to arrive at the door with slow and shuffling steps. I feel a little bad for bothering her because of that. Yes, can I help you?
Uh, Hi. Sorry to bother you. My name's John. My cousin Aya used to live next door, in that house that looked like it burnt down. Do you know anything about what happened there? Or where her family might have moved to or anything?
Oh, yes, the fire. It was so very sad. The woman nods and stares into the distance above my head for a moment, as if she's looking into the past. But I never knew the family who lived there. No.
No? You never even talked to them a little bit? I'd really like to find my cousin if I can, so any details you remember might help.
She shakes her head. No, I'm sorry, dear. But I keep to myself most of the time. I'm sure I never met your cousin. Aya, was it?
Aya. Yes.
I do hope you find her. But I'm afraid there's nothing I can do to help. I sigh in disappointment. At least she was a lot nicer about it than the guy on the other side.
Alright. Well, thanks for your time.
You take care of yourself now.
You too.
She closes the door and I make my dejected way back to the sidewalk.
Well, that's 0 for 2. Apparently your family wasn't all that sociable.
Hey, how much time do you spend chatting with your neighbors?
Huh, good point.
I guess with the internet and all, most people don't bother to get to know their neighbors too well anymore.
Well, should we try another one anyway? Maybe the house across the street from yours?
Sure.
I look both ways and wait for a minivan with chipped silver paint to pass before I cross to another house. This time, when I ring the doorbell, a baby immediately starts crying inside the house. I feel terrible about disturbing these people again. I could never make it as a door-to-door salesman. The cries gradually cease, and a haggard-looking young woman answers the door, baby in her arms. Yeah, you're selling anything I don't want.
Not selling anything. I'm just looking for my cousin.
Your cousin doesn't live here.
Uh, yeah, I know. She lives across the street. I mean, she used to. Not anymore, I guess. Obviously, since the house burned down.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering if you knew anything about what happened to her. Like where her family moved to or anything? Her name's Aya. Aya Faraj.
No one in that family's moving. Or they all died, didn't you? Terrible callous way to inform an innocent young boy about the tragic deaths of his relatives. Good thing I already knew. I'm not actually related to them.
Really? You're sure? Well, do you know if there's a grave or anything I can visit?
I'm kind of reaching her for stuff to ask, but I feel like absolutely any detail I can uncover just might turn you. But Aya needs to start remembering more, and that would make it all worth it.
Aya and I were really close when we were kids.
I don't know. I didn't know them. Aya? Are you talking about Aya? From behind the woman, a girl in sweatpants and old t-shirt that's way too big for her peers out at us. I'd guess she's about 13. She has a dyed blue streak in her hair, which is exactly the kind of thing my friends and I thought was cool at that age. The woman, mother I assume, seems none too pleased to see her. You're supposed to be doing your math homework, honey.
Yes, Aya!
I jump in, wanting to get whatever information I can before the girl is banished back to the shackles of eighth grade math.
She was my cousin. Did you know her?
We didn't really. Yeah, I did. Aya used to babysit me after school. She used to help me with my homework, and we baked cookies together, and sometimes I stayed for dinner. And Dr. Farage, it was a long time ago, before they all died in the fire. Aya didn't die. I saw her. Girl has tears in her eyes as she protests her mother's dismissal of her memories. I was watching through the window, and they took her in the ambulance, but she might have been alive when you saw her, but she died later in the hospital, hon. They all died. You are her cousin? Girl turns her pleading eyes to me, and I wish there was something I could say to. So, you knew her back then too? Did she ever? Medicine. Homework. Now. The baby starts wailing again at the mother's harsh tones. One person who might have had some answers for me, Edison, is back into the shadows. Sorry about her.
It's okay.
My heart breaks for that poor girl. Sounded like Aya was really important to her. I hope that her mother's just having a bad day and doesn't always snap at her like that when she's trying to talk. I wish I could have told her that Aya's still here. She could have seen her. You should stop asking
I.
questions.
Sorry?
About the fire. Stop asking questions. They all died. That's all there is to it. Go home. She slams the door in my face, and the baby cries faded into the distance as I trudge back into the sidewalk. Aya lags a bit behind, floating backwards and still staring up at the house behind us.
I remember her.
The girl?
Madison. She's grown up so much. She used to come to my house after school because her dad worked late. Her mom wasn't around. I guess that one must be her new stepmom. She was such a creative kid. He used to decorate cookies with all kinds of ice cream and sprinkles and draw pictures. I wish I could.
Aya wipes a spectral tear away from her face. Reach out as if to put my arm around her and stop when I remember that it's impossible.
Come on, Aya. Let's go home.
Okay.
Okay, so they say we shouldn't ask around because of the fire. Do they know more? And also, we know now Aya's dad was a doctor, so maybe their parents and my parents were twins and did some research on the same. We move slowly on our way back toward the bus stop. My leg is getting a little bit sore, so I'm taking my time to put as much weight as possible on the cane to help with every other. Aya doesn't seem to mind. She drifts along behind me, gaze fixed on the rundown homes of her old neighborhood. I wonder if the view is sparking any new memories or she's just about happier times she spent with Wilson.
Hey! Hey, you.
Suddenly, a tall man in a suit steps out from between two houses. I tense up, my knuckles turning white with my tight grip on the handle of my.
You were asking about Aya Faraj, right?
What?
I heard you talking to that old lady down the street. You're Aya's cousin?
Uh, yeah?
I'm still wary of the stranger blocking my path, but if he knows something about Aya, I want to hear it. And we will hear it in the next episode, guys. um, because the time is up, like always. Always when the good stuff happens. I hope you are eager to know what he knows about Aya, what we will find out, and I see you next time. Until then, bye bye!